Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coaching and Consulting Insight series on the Success Insight podcast. The Coaching and Consulting Insight series introduces you to coaches and consultants that work with leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals to create their best life and achieve and perform at their full potential. Our guest today is Kim Wilkish. Kim is a leadership coach and founder of New Tides Coaching. She is passionate about helping people thrive in their career by developing their personal leadership without sacrificing their well-being or personal life. Kim, it is a pleasure to have you on the Coaching and Consulting Insight series. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Howard.
Fantastic. And for our listeners, and as I usually say, in the spirit of full disclosure, I have known Kim for, I feel like, many years now. We were in coach training together way back when at Fielding Graduate University. And it was so great to catch up with you, Kim.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoy seeing how far we've come since we first met, Howard.
It's amazing. We all come into the coaching journey for a variety of reasons. I definitely want to talk a little bit about that. But you and I, and we've had opportunities to kind of get together at some fielding events. I know you visited Chicago when I was there. And I think that it was this past month or two ago on LinkedIn, you were speaking about this card deck, and my eyes perked up a little bit as I was reading this. Oh, that's pretty cool. And so, first off, you're not working in the pharma world anymore, are you? So you're producing these wonderful decks.
Yeah, no, like things happen. I got laid off a couple of years back from the pharma company, saw that coming. So I took advantage, since the timing aligned with the COVID shutdown of everything, and decided to do something fun. So I created this card deck, and I've used it with some of my clients and other people. And it's a great reminder for people in leadership positions to remember to take care of themselves, take a pause, and also have leadership insights for themselves on how they lead, how they create visions, and how they create culture for their teams.
Fantastic. And I love how you just shared, prior to this layoff happening, you saw it coming. And that is actually very fortunate, because some of us don't see it coming. It's a total blindside. And at least by seeing it coming, you could begin to make some preparations for it. And with this deck, Becoming a Leader card deck, Becoming and Being a Leader card deck, let me get that right. Had this been kind of an idea that's had been in a coaching approach that had been floating around over the years? And how did this card deck, and for our listeners, we're going to see it shortly. We're going to do things a little differently. We're going to go right to the work that Kim is doing in just a minute. But how did this card deck begin to take fruition?
So I was coaching people in many different scenarios. I was a manager of a global team. We had gone through mergers and acquisitions. I was also supporting a merger and acquisition. And through that, it was interesting to see how people were responding to the changes in the organization's leadership and the different leadership styles that everybody who's a leader has. And so the idea started percolating, and people would ask me, what do I need to do to develop? How do I develop in my career? What's the next step? And from working with them on where they wanted to go, these ideas kind of came to me that were central. They're just central things that were intuitive to me as I was leading teams that may not be intuitive right away to someone else who's thrown into a management role, as an example. and trying to really understand what it is they have to do and how do you corral the cats, sort of say, and get them to work together and what is the vision for the group and the team. So I came up with this card deck, and in light of all of the reductions in force I've seen, mergers and acquisitions, I mean, I've been at 4 companies that have been bought and sold, and that's a whole other story. But one of the biggest lessons I learned from that was to have compassion for yourself. And most people don't realize that going through those roller coasters, there's actually a grieving process they're going through as well.
Sure.
Yeah. And
Sure.
understanding that, have compassion for yourself when today, post COVID, we're all still stressed out, working from home, and don't know how to balance it all, or going back to the office and we're just overwhelmed and tired. So the cards are just nice pictures with just a simple saying on them. And there's more depth with the deck as well that you can do a further inquiry or meditation on. But they're just nice that if you want to remind yourself to celebrate your wins, as an example, you could just put that up on your desk. And it's just a quick reminder.
I love it. I tell you what, why don't we go out to the platform where we can get the deck? Let's take a look at it.
Okay.
So for our listeners, this is the little nuance, the curve I threw myself today as I was getting ready with Kim. She's going to share the deck. All right. So tell us, where are we right now? What kind of website are we at?
So I have the deck, physical deck is for sale on my website.
Okay.
But this past year, we've been working with this gentleman who's a creator named Nick Kellett, and he's created an app that's called Deckable. And
Okay.
his idea behind Deckable is to have a collection of the card decks you have, because most people who buy card decks tend to have more than one.
Of
And
course.
it's hard to carry them with you. Whereas if you have them all in a digital application, you can carry them with you on your phone, which is pretty cool.
I love it.
So the application is, you get to see it on your desktop on deckable.com. There's also, it's also an app you could buy on Google Play or download for free at this time, and on the Apple Store, where you can find your apps. So it's pretty cool. In this
Okay.
case, I searched for my own deck, so that's
Okay.
why you can only see mine.
Okay. All right.
And it's called the Becoming and Being a Leader card deck. And right now it's listed under the genre of mindfulness. And
Okay.
I have, there's 54 decks in the entire card, but one's an introduction and one kind of talks about how to use the deck. And then
Okay.
the others are the cards. So this is the cover of what the digital box looks like.
Okay. Kim, I want to stop you for 1 second.
Okay.
So it's 54 cards in the deck.
Yep.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there's 52 that you would actually use.
52. Okay. So one's like the cover and the other one's like, here's how you use the deck.
Yeah.
Something like that. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's the deck itself, and basically it has, you can use it as a meditation. He's building in capabilities so you can actually journal on the decks too, which
Okay.
is nice.
I like that.
Yeah. And you can just pull a deck. You can do different draws as well. So this is what the back of my box looks like, with just some information about me.
Okay.
And then this is what the actual cover of all the cards look like.
Okay. Okay.
So
Very cool.
a couple of the cards have, in this viewing of it, you'll see a couple of the cards on the back side. So
Okay.
this one says have a leader's mindset. And if you have the digital version and actually are looking at the deck open and not just the preview here, there's another side. What's cool about the digital decks is that you could have more than 2 sides to a card, whereas the
Right.
physical deck, you can only have 1 and 2.
Gotcha.
And so the third side actually has has a bit of a description about the deck, and it has some questions for you to inquire on. So
Okay.
having the leader's mindset, what does that mean? What does that look like to you? Things like that. And then this one is know your value and your worth.
Okay.
Oftentimes people think that they know what their value is or their worth, but when you actually think about all the things that you do daily as a person in your job, sometimes you surprise yourself. And if you're leading others, your value is so much different than a worker bee,
Sure. Sure.
you know?
I love it.
And nourish your body, mind, and soul. One of those well-being practices that sometimes we get too busy and we spend the day at our desk. Go, 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 go.
Me. Guilty of
You
that.
you need to take a break just to restore your energy and replenish yourself.
Of course.
And then this card I particularly love is define what success is for you. We have
Okay.
so many ideas of what success is as a culture,
Mhm.
but sometimes we actually need to sit down and say, what does it mean to me? Am I doing all this working hard, running to keep up with the Joneses? Is it something that I really want? And especially now in this time of high inflation, a
Right.
lot of people are really questioning where they stand and what's really important to them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
And another one is to build your strength and your resilience. I took this picture, this picture from one of our favorite beaches in Nantucket, and the erosion has just overtaken parts of that island. So the trees like holding on.
Yeah. Well, that brings up another question I have. After we kind of get through this deck, is I'd like to hear about how more about how the pictures came about. Were these yours? Did you get those from some other source? Because I love the pictures. Love them.
Yeah, most of the pictures are mine. There's one or two that I borrowed from either a daughter or another source. My daughter loves taking pictures.
I love it.
Um, but most of them are mine, and I love the beach. The beach is where I personally go to decompress. So I wanted the pictures for the cards to be calming.
Uh-huh.
So it also helps to take that breath throughout the
Uh,
day.
I love it. I love it.
And then I have one of the draws you can do on my deck. So you can actually, on the deck itself, shuffle the decks on the Apple app. You could shuffle them, you could pick cards, you could pick a drawer. So I have these three that I picked: Aware, Assess, and Grow, which I created. So when you do your cards, you shuffle them, you can put three on a spread, and there's questions that you can ask yourself regarding just building awareness. How are you doing at this topic? And what could you do to grow or do better?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Very good. Well, great introduction to it. And uh, yeah, thanks for sharing. And for our listeners, you're going to have all the backlinks to not only Kim's website, but also to Deckable. And and for our listeners, something's going through my head right now is I'm going to find some way to get a deck or two out there. If you have listened to this episode and you go out to, for example, Apple Podcast, where you listen to your podcast, and if you like, share, and comment on this episode, we'll figure out a way to get you a deck. Now, it's going to be 2 or 3 decks, but we'll figure that out. But that's what's going through my head as I'm seeing this, because this is wonderful. Well, Kim, thank you for sharing this.
you're welcome. Thank you for having me show you.